Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom, there was a dazzling city called Metropolis. It was a place where the sun always shone brightly on the skyscrapers, and the rich lived in splendid towers above the clouds. The city was ruled by the ruthless and powerful Joe Fredison, whose palace gleamed with the spoils of his tyranny. Below this golden paradise lay a grim underworld, where the poor toiled endlessly to keep the city's heart beating. This subterranean realm was a dark, dingy labyrinth of gears and pipes, where the workers were little more than faceless drones, their lives chewed up and spat out by the relentless machinery. They lived in constant darkness, their skin pale and eyes hollow from the lack of sunlight. One day, the handsome prince of Metropolis, Fredison, was wandering through the pleasure gardens of his father's palace. Amidst the laughter and gaiety, he saw a beautiful maiden named Maria leading a group of poor children. She spoke of hope and a mediator who would bridge the chasm between the rich and the poor. Freda was struck by her beauty and her message, and he decided to follow her to the dark depths below the city. As Freda descended into the bowels of Metropolis, he witnessed the horrors of the workers' lives. The machines were monstrous beasts, grinding and roaring, feeding on human flesh and bone. One particularly horrific incident caught his eye. A worker, exhausted and delirious, stumbled and was swallowed whole by the insatiable gears. Blood sprayed, painting the cold metal red, while the other workers barely flinched, too numb to react. Freda, sickened by the sight, resolved to help. He confronted his father, Joe Fredison, demanding change. But Joe was unmoved, his heart as cold and unyielding as the machines he commanded. Instead, Joe sought the help of the mad scientist Rotwang, a man with a mechanical hand and a mind twisted by grief and obsession. Rotwang had created a robot, a perfect simulacrum of a human, and Joe ordered him to make it in the image of Maria, to quell the workers' unrest by deceiving them. Rotwang, however, had his own plans. He harbored a deep hatred for Joe, who had stolen the love of his life. He agreed to the scheme, but secretly intended to use the robot Maria to incite chaos and destroy Metropolis. The robot was brought to life in a storm of electricity and arcane science, its transformation a gruesome spectacle of sparks and screams. Robot Maria was a nightmare clad in human skin. With a malevolent glint in her eyes, she descended to the workers, preaching revolution and bloodshed. The workers, desperate and angry, were easily swayed. They rioted, smashing the machines that had enslaved them, oblivious to the fact that their actions were leading to their own doom. As the machines crumbled, the foundations of Metropolis began to shake. The city above was oblivious to the peril below until the very ground started to tremble. Buildings cracked, and the pristine streets were split open, revealing the abyss beneath. Panicked citizens fled in terror, their screams mingling with the roaring of the collapsing towers. Freda and the real Maria, who had been captured and then escaped from Rotwang's clutches, raced against time to stop the madness. They found themselves in a cathedral, a towering edifice amidst the chaos, where Rotwang had taken refuge. A climactic battle ensued between Freda and Rotwang, their struggle echoed by the crashing city outside. Rotwang, driven mad by his hatred and grief, fought with the ferocity of a demon. But Freda, fueled by his love for Maria and his desire to save Metropolis, ultimately triumphed. He pushed Rotwang from the cathedral's heights, and the mad scientist fell to his death, his body breaking upon the stones below, blood pooling in a grotesque halo around his shattered form. Meanwhile, the workers, realizing the destruction they had wrought, tried desperately to save their children from the flooding catacombs. It was a scene of utter pandemonium. Parents screamed, clutching their children, while others were trampled in the frenzy. The waters rose dark and cold, claiming lives without mercy. In the end, Freda and Maria managed to bring the workers and the elites together in the ruins of the cathedral. The walls were smeared with soot and blood, and the air was thick with the stench of death. Yet amidst the horror, a new hope was born. Freda, standing between his father and the workers' leader Grot, clasped their hands together in a solemn vow to rebuild a better Metropolis, one where all could live and work in harmony. Thus the kingdom of Metropolis, though scarred and battered, found a fragile peace. The ghosts of the dead lingered in the shadows, and the memories of the violence and bloodshed would never fade. But from the ashes of the old city, a new one began to rise, forged in the fires of revolution and tempered by the promise of a brighter tomorrow. The story of Metropolis became a legend, a cautionary tale, and a reminder that even in a world of cold machines and towering walls, a heart full of compassion could bridge the greatest divides.